Hey guys, just giving you a little heads up on what's been going on. Hey guys, if you are new here, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thanks for sticking around. So as you can see, there is a little bit of change in this video, meaning my hair. I decided to, instead of paying a lot of money to try to put the highlights and the lightning and all that stuff that I've been doing for years, to embrace my natural color, or as close to my natural color as I could get it, or embrace the dark side, if you will. Whichever you want to go with, we'll go with that. But yeah, so this is about as close to my natural color as possible. Of course, it is still a little dark because it was just done. But yeah, it's still a little weird for me to look at and see because I'm so used to it being lighter. But anyway, yeah, so this is the look we are going with for 2024. Embracing it. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. I know that I mentioned before doing a sort of November end of the month wrap up a while back, and that kind of didn't happen because I only really read one more book. So I figured I would just kind of include that. I wanted to wait until I got like a good amount of books under my belt to kind of like share with you guys. So I went ahead and did that. So my last book that I read in November was Broken Fae by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valente, I believe. Yep. And this is book number 4 in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. I had been trying to get through that series, and book 4 was still great. It was a 5-star read for me. I am loving this series. It was everything it needed to be. It was starting to get a little bit more action-packed, a lot more steamy, but you're starting to see all the storylines kind of converge because this is a multi-POV story. You are now seeing Elise and Dante and Leon and Gabriel and Ryder, and just all of them kind of coming to terms with who they are, and trying to find a way to become this sort of reverse harem, if you will, in this, Fae world that doesn't usually happen. So you're seeing that come together as long as, as well as the fact that Elise is still trying to solve the murder of her brother, or the disappearance of her brother, and trying to figure out who the Shadow King or whatever is, who their real self is, because if you have read the stories, you will know that the king kind of has this cloak or a cloak spell on them that kind of makes their image change, so you can't really get a read on who they really are. So that's all continuing in this book. It's starting to build to a head. There's a lot of kind of drama unfolding with who's becoming mated, who's not, and like I said, it's everything it needed to be. The series so far has been really good, a lot better than anything I could have thought. It is quickly becoming one of my favorite series of all time. So I went ahead and I finished that one, and that was really the last book of November that I read. So starting off in December, of course, I was going to finish out the series, and I ended up reading Warrior Fae, which is same authors, same series. This is the final book in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series. This one, sadly, was the lowest rated out of the series. Out of all 5 books, this one I rated a 4 instead of a 5. All the other ones I've been rating a 5. And the reason I did that was because this started to get into the bounds of a lot more steam, but I felt like the plot was starting to be sacrificed in order to include a lot more steamy scenes. And that was kind of like, there was so much coming on, you were almost starting to get bored with it in a sense. So that was kind of a thing. I also figured out who King was. So when the big reveal came, I was a little like, yeah, okay, I already kind of knew that. And then the way that things were kind of wrapped up, I felt happened really quickly. And then when I started reading some of the kind of commentary on Warrior Fae and people who had kind of reviewed it, I had to agree, because a lot of the comments were saying that it was good, but it could have done without all the extra endings. And at first I didn't know what they meant until I finished the book. And this is one of those books where it ends and then they have like an epilogue, and then they have, and 2 months later, and 4 weeks later, and a month, like, and it just kept going. And I felt like everything that they put into, like, here's graduation, here's this, 2 weeks later, 1 year later, blah, 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 blah. I felt like all of that could have been condensed into like a singular epilogue, and that would have been just fine. But it just kept going, chapter after chapter after chapter. So that was kind of annoying as well. So those were the things that kind of brought it down to a 4-star, because it was still a good series. You still kind of knew how it had to end in terms of the reverse harem, and you knew that. There were a few things that were really interesting that they alluded to, but they didn't give you the full details. And that was involving some of the characters that you're going to see in Zodiac Academy. So I don't want to give anything away, because obviously if you're going to read it, I don't want to spoil that for you. But it was nice kind of seeing them talk about what happened that is a really big kind of part of those characters in the Zodiac series book. So that was really fun, because now I'm excited to go back to reading the Zodiac Academy and finish that one out. And then I also found out now that there is another series to this world that takes place like 10 years or so after Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, but it does involve a few of the characters from Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. So it's going to be really interesting to go from Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, see a few of them make a pop-up in Zodiac Academy because of what happens in the 5th book. I know that seems so like teasing vague to you, but read it. You'll enjoy it. And then go from Zodiac Academy to the next series, which is going to hopefully include some of the characters from Ruthless Boys, but 10 years later, so you can kind of see what happens. So I really did enjoy the series overall. Like I said, the first 4 books were 5 stars. Last book was, it just fell short of being a 5-star for the reasons I said. But overall, like I said, I still loved the series. If I had to pick my favorite Ruthless Boy, I liked the funny, quirky, just like funness of Leon, but I gotta say my heart belongs to Dante Obscura on this one. I loved Dante. I loved that he was, out of all of the guys, he was flirty, he was funny, he had that little like mischievous side as well that he could play into with like practical jokes, but he also had this very caring, compassionate side to him when it came to Elise and when it came to his family, and you saw him kind of take that leadership role. So he really was, for me, like the perfect balance of, the fun and flirty, and the knowing when to be serious and supportive and things like that. So I really liked Dante. He was my favorite. So, but I'm like, not to say that the other guys didn't have their own appeals, but Dante was the one that kind of spoke to me on that one. But good news is that we finished a series. So instead of starting a bunch of series, we finished them. But it doesn't stay that way for long, because as we went on, I went to go back to the magical readathon that I had been working on, because I had fallen behind in the prompts for the Year in Aurelium, which is basically the it's magical readathon, but it's not the big readathon that happens in, I think it's April and August. This was something that G decided to have year-long, where you would kind of choose your own adventure path, and then each month would be a prompt that you had to do on that path to get some sort of extra ability or extra familiar. And so because I have my 2 characters, I had been doing 2 prompts every month, and I kind of fell behind on that. So I had wanted to spend November and December kind of catching up. And of course, I did not do that in November, because I was reading the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series. So I wanted to go ahead and get back into that for December and make sure I got these done, so that I got my special gifts and familiars for my characters. So I was left at October's books. Actually, we needed to read 2 books for October, 2 books for November, 2 books for December. So far I challenged the October prompt, which was to read a book with stars on the cover. And for that one, I had chose Nora Roberts' Stars of Fortune, because not only does it say stars, it does have a star on the cover. This is book 1 in the Guardians trilogy. I had read Nora Roberts' The Dragonheart Legacy not too long ago, and I did enjoy it. So I wanted to see what else she had written. And this one kind of snatched me right away because it's basically got sort of a I want to say it's a Celtic myth, but I'm not sure. But you have these 3 goddesses who a mortal girl has taken the throne, and they decide to create gifts for her. And so they gift her these stars out in the heavens for, power or whatever they may be, because they're still trying to tell you what they are in the story. And that the 4th, goddess of darkness, if you will, very, very much Sleeping Beauty, as you have the 3 good fairies and then Maleficent. This is kind of the same thing, but you have the 3 good goddesses and then the one, the darker goddess. I think it's Navina or Narina. I can't fully remember what it was, but she kind of like casts around about prophecy or curse that the stars are going to fall, and that once the stars fall, darkness is going to like kind of envelop the world, and she's going to be the most powerful, and she should rule, and of course, the evil will prevail type. And so now you have kind of the safeguard happening is you have these people that are fated to meet, and that when they gather, they will be led to the stars, and there will be the epic battle of good versus evil, and hopefully they will, good will prevail. So in book 1, you meet the 3 characters through the eyes of Sasha. You get a few multi kind of POV perspectives, but they're not done in traditional sense of like chapters from this view. It's kind of mismatched. So there's like an icon that separates sometimes whose point of view you're reading from. But you have Sasha, who is a painter and kind of a recluse, and she starts having these visions, and she doesn't know what they mean, but she decides to embrace it and go to, I think it's like a part of Italy that she ends up going to, that she sees in her dreams. And when she gets there, she starts seeing the people that she had previously sketched from her dreams, and she starts meeting them, and everybody that she meets is on this quest to find these stars. And she's starting to find out that there's more than meets the eye, and that there's this bond between them, and that they are meant to, the 6 of them are meant to band together and find these stars and fight the evil goddess and prevail. And so I don't want to give it away, but each of these 6 people has a special gift. Obviously, you know that Sasha is kind of like, they call her the seer, but she's kind of psychic in a sense where she gets these visions, dreams, whether she's waking or asleep, and she can, obviously draw them out in fantastic form because she is an artist. So that is kind of her gift. Each of the other 5 have something about them as well to contribute, but I don't want to give that away because I actually really enjoyed this book. I didn't know what to make of it. I think I got this from a thrift store. I found it. I had seen it before, but it was like at a thrift store for like $1 or $2, and I was like, all right, I'll take a chance on it now. And I was really happy that I did, because I think so far I am enjoying this one more than I did the Dragonheart Legacy. And I think that's because this is like, you are thrown right into the action. It doesn't kind of give you a story to kind of get you in. You are thrown in, and you're kind of like, wait, what's going on? And at first that kind of like disoriented me, but then I got into it, and they kind of cover themselves in explaining things. I like, so here's the thing. I like the way Nora Roberts writes her male characters and her side characters. She tends to have a lot of personality in them. I love the guys because they have this kind of like very self-assured confidence that's not cocky or like annoying. It's just a sureness of themselves, a strength. And they can say things so like, they could speak of their feelings without a hint of like embarrassment or shyness about it. And I kind of admire that and love that about the guys that she writes. I love that she always has this kind of like badass side character chick who's usually like the best friend of the main character, because I usually end up liking that character more than the main female heroine. I'm not a fan too much of the main females that she writes. I wasn't a fan of the main female or the main male character for in that case in the Dragonheart Legacy. I found them just kind of lacking. This one, I'm not a huge fan of Sasha. Like, I get her story. I get that she's there. She's young. She's a little unsure of her abilities. So it makes more sense. So I like her a little bit more than the character in Dragonheart Legacy. But still, like, I just kind of find her underwhelming in comparison to the other characters that make up, like, the 6 people. But I do like the other characters. I like the storyline. I like the friendship and the bonds that they're trying to create in here. And right off the bat in this one, you have Sasha kind of starting to own her powers and wanting to take charge and grow right from the get-go in book 1. Whereas I felt like in Dragonheart, the main female character in that one, really, like, she just kept training, but it never seemed to be more powerful. Like, she just was powerful, but then she would still be like unsure. Like, it was just, I didn't feel as much growth as I'm feeling already from this one. So like I said, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And I think the 4 stars really came from me still feeling a little like, because I was thrown into it, I was like, well, what kind of led to this and what kind of happened? So I'm hoping they will address those in the next books to come, because that's kind of how it's been happening. So I'm giving it hope that, like, that feeling is just going to go away as I read the next few books in the series. But I was very pleasantly surprised. And of course, now I fulfilled my stars on the cover prompt for my female character. So next up for my female character was the November prompt, and that was the Visit Old Favor Pass, which was to read a book with a winter setting. And for that, I chose The Snow Spider by Jenny Nemo. I didn't know this was a series. I thought it was a standalone book. I don't know if I'm going to continue the series. It wasn't necessarily bad. I actually ended up giving it 4 stars, but it was like just made 4 stars. This is a children's book. I would rate it at maybe 4th or 5th grade and up, just because it does deal with a missing child and kind of coping with that loss and what that can do to a family, and how that can kind of the drama and the blame and things that can kind of happen within a family to kind of make it not the happy home. So that is for me a much more adult topic than something that I would give to like a 1st grader or a 2nd grader. I think they need to kind of have a little bit more understanding in order to cope with that. But it was a very interesting story. I liked it because this is supposed to be dealing with Welsh mythology, and I love anything that's kind of inspired by mythology in general. But knowing that you have like Celtic, like most of the time we hear of Greek or Egyptian or sometimes even the Celtic traditions. So having the Welsh, I wanted to kind of get more into that. Norse I've been wanting to get into a lot more. And I know that sometimes the Welsh and the Celtic, there's sometimes similarities. But I wanted to see what this had. And basically you have the story of Gwyn, who's a little boy. I want to say he's like 9 or 10 in this. And a few years before, his sister went up the mountain, and she disappeared. And so the parents are, the mother's kind of distraught. She's trying to hold it together. The dad is very silent, very broody, kind of blames Gwyn because he had been the one to ask his sister. It was basically his sheep that went missing, and he begged his sister to go and get it for him early one morning. So he kind of is left coping with the sense that his father blames him for his sister's disappearance, as well as feeling, self-blame. And his birthday's coming around, it's the winter time, and his grandmother, who is seen as kind of the town eccentrics, brings him these gifts, and she tells him that he's descended from these great magicians of folklore and myth, and that he's able to cast spells, and that if he's able to make the offerings to the spirits of these lost ancestor magicians, that he will get his heart's wish. And of course his heart's wish is having to do with his sister. So he goes and he does these things, and the first time he does it, he offers up one of these gifts. to the wind, and he gets a snow spider, and it's this very sparkly, silvery, almost metallic looking spider is what came to mind. And the spider is magic and helps him to become the magician, and just basically helps him on this kind of quest that he's on. But at the same time, there are people who believe that Gwyn is just making up stories, that he really doesn't possess these gifts. And it's just kind of this little village that is dealing with this during this winter season. And, is he being eccentric? Is he lying? You have basic schools and how other kids deal with other kids. So I'm like, it was a really small story, but it did have a lot to kind of do with it. So it was good. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to continue with it because I felt like it wrapped up good in this one, and it wasn't anything that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I don't know. I might. So I'm keeping it in the back of my mind, and I did keep it on my series list just in case, like maybe even, I don't know if the other books take place in the winter time as well, because then I'm always needing a book for winter series because I don't read a lot of those. So, but I did give it 4 stars, and this was my winter read prompt. So I finished November's prompt for my female character as well. So then I moved on. I was behind in November for my male character. And so I needed to read November's prompt for my male character, which was a transformation spell. And that was to read a mystery or thriller. I ended up going with Final Girls by Riley Sager. I'm usually not one for thrillers. I know I do some murder mysteries like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder or The Inheritance Games, and I love those kind of like whodunit types. This one, I actually thought it was going to be something completely different. When I read it, I thought it was about Quincy, who is one of the final girls. She basically survives a mass murder, basically, and she becomes the sole survivor. So she unwillingly is kind of brought into the final girls group, which is a group of women who have also survived these type of situations. And one of them ends up being found dead, and they don't know if it was murder or not. So the girls are wondering now, is there a killer on the loose? And that's the way that I thought it was going. I thought it was going to be, maybe like a copycat killer trying to like clear out the final girls because no one should survive or something like that. That's what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. A lot of this book, it felt really slow. I ended up giving this 3 stars. It wasn't bad. It's not bad, but like I said, I'm not really a thriller person. It felt very slow because you're dealing a lot with Quincy and how she really doesn't like being named a final girl, and how she's trying to, what makes it worse is that she can't remember what happened the night that this all went down. And everybody always tries to get her to remember, and it really annoys her, and she's just trying to drop it and move on with her life. And I will be honest, I did not like Quincy. I really didn't. I mean, I felt for her and the horrible things that she had to go through, definitely. But I just didn't find her very likable. I didn't feel like an ounce of like sympathy for her and what she went through, sadly, even though like you should, because obviously what she went through was horrendous. But I just didn't get that sense from her. I didn't feel like with her, and she's the one that you're kind of reading the story through. I felt that she was kind of just running from dealing with what she went through instead of trying to deal with it, which is understandable in a way, but at the same time, when as you get older, you kind of know, like you can't always run. You kind of have to confront it, deal with it, process it in order to be able to move on. And that's what I felt needed to happen for her, and she just wasn't doing it. I felt like she was just kind of faking her life. Which, she is. She kind of is to an extent. A lot of this book, I will say, had me wondering if she was the one who actually did it. And so I'm like, it did surprise me, the ending, and how it did kind of come about. I wasn't expecting what was going on. And it did make sense. This book does deal a lot with, trauma, with abuse, with addiction, with There's obviously a lot of violence in it. So, I mean, if you get triggered, definitely check the triggers. This might not be the book for you. I mean, it is about, it is a thriller about final girls surviving these things. So be forewarned. But when I finished it, I was just kind of glad to be done. I mean, it was, like I said, I feel bad because I know this book has a lot of people like loving it. And it wasn't written bad. It just wasn't, it kind of cemented in me the fact that I'm not really a huge thriller reader. And that just kind of got cemented, which is good because then I know that's just not my forte. That's just not my genre. And I'm not going to go and be picking up a whole bunch of books. But I am happy to have read a Riley Sager book because, like I said, I know that there is a huge fan base for this author. That being said, I would actually recommend it. I mean, even though it only got 3 stars for me and I'm not really a thriller person, if you like, because when they talk about kind of what happened to these girls, it gives big time, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, like those slasher type movies. It gives those vibes mixed with a lot of what came across to me as like single white female. Like for a lot of the film, I mean, a lot of the book, I felt like I was reading versions of single white female. So I'm like, if any of those speak to you, then this probably would be a really great book for you. And it's not a big book by any stretch of the imagination. So it's just, like I said, thrillers aren't exactly my thing, but I did give it 3 stars and this fulfilled my prompt for reading a thriller. So I ended up getting all caught up for my 2 characters for Magical Readathon. So I still have 2 more prompts to read, which is to read go to Wallace's Winter Wanimal Shop and read a holiday read, which I think I am tackling The Afterlife of Holly Chase for that one. I've yet to start that. I'm hoping to start that in the next few days. And then to Turn Into a Phoenix, which is a book that has fire in the title. And for that one, I was going to read Fireborn, which I still will read. I just wanted to read, I wanted to grab one of the books that has just been really on my mind. So I ended up switching out Fireborn for A Fire in the Flesh by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which came out recently. It is the 3rd book in her Flesh and Fire series, which I don't want to say is like a prequel. To me, it's a prequel kind of companion series to the Blood and Ash series because it's the same world, just like a long time before. So I wanted to start picking up that one. So that one is going to take the place and I'm going to work on both of those. And then I should be done with those and have conquered all my, goals. And so by the end of December, I should have adopted a cute baby poof otter, as well as learn how to shapeshift into a phoenix for my male character. So that will be great. That will be done. I'm just going to, wash my hands of it, throw it out there. But I have been having fun doing this, so I am curious to see if she will do another annual read-along for next year. So we shall see. But up till that is what I have read so far. Now that the kids are out of school, we did massive cleaning. There's only 2 rooms that are still messy, but the rest of the house has been cleaned because we had family come to visit. And so now that the house is kind of clean, the kids are out of school, all the gifts have been wrapped. We have just done everything. I'm trying now to take more time out to finish these books, to get some more reading done. Because as of right now, I think I'm still 13 books short of reading my 100-book reading goal for the year. I don't know if I'm really going to make it because 13 books in 2 weeks is kind of a lot. So I probably won't, but we'll see how close I get in my wrap-up video, which I should hopefully have done the beginning of 2024. So let me know if you have read any of these books, what your thoughts were on them, if you enjoyed them, if you did not enjoy them, if there are any holiday reads that you have been reading this month that you think I should look into and maybe pick up myself. Otherwise than that, I am hoping you are staying warm this winter season, that you are staying sane in the holiday season, and that you guys are staying healthy. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.